Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This show was sponsored by Kids Keep in Touch Systems and REM Real Estate Magazine. Learn more about our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of my book, The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 255. He has created an empire over the past 30 years that has made his name synonymous with York Region real estate. You may recognize his purple and gold branding or his YouTube channel, many TV appearances, speaking engagements with Tony Robbins, or throwing out the first pitch in the World Series game against the Houston Astros. Throughout his 30 plus years in real estate, he has helped over 7,500 families with an estimated total of $3 billion in sales, and he has achieved numerous awards for outstanding sales performance. He is also a generous sponsor for many charity events. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is President and Sales Representative of the Daryl King Team, Daryl King. Daryl, welcome back to the MindShare podcast, man.
Hey, it's been a while.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while. It's great to have you back.
What number was I in the other episode? You remember?
Oh, man.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
You know, now you're taking me back. I probably should have pulled that one up just in case you asked.
Back. Anyway, it's not 7,500. It's about 14,000 families we help buy or sell and over $6 billion worth of real estate.
Well, you see, this is what happens when I grab certain chunks of the bio that I had for you last time we were on the show, and should have like.
Anyway,
just
that's what happens. Things happen, and if you don't get the right one, then we get the wrong stuff. But anyway, we're here today. We're here live, and I'm always happy to be here. Like I always say, anyone with as much energy as me is you. So, I don't find too many people that can match me in energy.
We're gonna work to do that with you today. But I'm gonna work to try to like extrapolate a whole bunch of stuff from you, because you know what? There's a lot of people out there right now that are obviously having some tougher times. Like, you know what, let's just look at that right away and say off the top, right? Because you've seen obviously all sorts of markets over the past, 30 plus years in the business. What kind of market are we in right now?
You are in a change market. I mean, we look at 2016, there was 113,000 sales that year. It's the highest amount of sales all time in history, right? Now, that's the only year that we cracked over 100,000. So there's 2 other years we cracked into 92,000, and then 89,000 and 85,000. So, this year will be down probably around 75,000, similar to last year's numbers. And the thing is that what is normal? What is abnormal? So abnormal is when we sold 113,000 sales. That was chaos. It was just that year. My average selling price was, I think, 105 or 106% of selling price, and probably 5-6 days. And 2017 started off the same way for the first number of months, and then the market changed dramatically, and it went a lot less. So we can't when you base comparison, and that's the beautiful part about having history, you can look back onto history and say, okay, what type of market are we in? So obviously, with interest rates gone up, the highest they've been in 22 years, the uncertainty, and then you got to qualify for 2 points higher than above that, it makes it tough for people to get financing. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. It's just, that's what it's like to get financing, right? That you got to qualify. So look at 2017 started with a bang. That was 92,343. And then 2018, we went to 78,000. And then in 2020, we bounced back up to 95,000. So it's changed that, because now you have bigger amounts of people,
And what did you say the numbers were right now?
Well, in 2022, there was 75,000 sales.
So
So
we're
75,000 sales takes you back into roughly
2017 number.
2002, 2003. So last year's numbers took you into sales at 2002, 2003. So this year's totals are going to be very similar to last year, probably around 75,000.
Okay.
So it's much lower than what we got accustomed, because we peaked at 113, then we went 92,000, 78,000 in 218, 87,000 in 219, and 95,000 or 75,000 in
2017.
yes, right?
So we're back to similar numbers as 2017. We saw a peak in the 2018 through 2022 kind of range. But
Well,
it's not realistic to think the market's going to stay at the height anyways all the time.
it's impossible.
It's
Like
not.
in 2021, we had 121,712 sales. The highest sale was 216, which was 113. So it blew that out of the water. Prices went like this. Sales went like this. But it was too fast. If you look at history has been roughly, say, an average anywhere from 3 to 6, 7%, maybe 8 in a high year. So when they were going up 20 and 23% in 1 year, and outlying areas up 40%, there's no way you can maintain that. I looked at a newspaper ad. I had a full page newspaper ad for last November, and I predicted sales are going to slow down tremendously and interest rates are going to be up tremendously. And because you get in your car, put on the gas, put it to full speed, the motor's going to pop. It's inevitable. It
Right.
cannot go full out. And that's the way the market was. It was out of control. So now the Bank of Canada, inflation's got up because when COVID hit, food went up 30%, gas went up 30%. And now interest rates have gone up, higher than they have been in 22 years. So the norm in interest rates were anywhere probably 5 to 10% for most of our time working in real estate. So the abnorm was this super, super low rates that we've seen. So now the consumer, the sellers, the consumer, the buyers, and everybody, investors, we have to reposition ourselves and get more acclimatized to a higher rate situation. So, let's say I can afford $1 million, and with the low rates, I can go buy for 1.3. So everybody's appetite was bigger than really what they could afford. Well, they can afford it with the lower rates, but with these rates today, they can't afford it. So that's what we're seeing with assignments even right now, that, a lot of investors, which is good. It's good for the economy. It helps things out. End users, they might buy them for their kids later on down the road, and they'll buy something. When they go to school, they'll live in it, and that way they don't have to pay rent, or maybe they're going to downsize in the future and go get a condo or a townhouse or a smaller house. Now, when they bought it maybe 2 years ago, interest rates were super low, but now they're not qualifying for the mortgage with the higher interest rates. So the swing went too fast going up, and now too fast going down. So it's like bang, hitting a brick wall. And that's where the market is today. It's just like, you don't know if you're going or you're coming. Buyers think, you know what? Prices are going to get better. So they're sitting on the sidelines.
Yep.
And they don't realize that when the market was so hot, you would have had to pay this much for the house. And today you can pay this much for the house. So substantially lower. So the number one thing is your principal. So let's go on $1 million. You had 200,000. So now that $1 million property could probably buy for 900,000 right now. So they would have had to borrow, let's say, 800,000. So now they only have to borrow 700,000. So with a less borrowing amount, even with the higher interest rates, it's almost even. That if I can track out pretty much any numbers, and it'll almost break out even because your principal is so much lower. So listen, and really, that's what our parents did. They would buy a property and they'd amortize it over 25 years, and then they generally pay off the house. So, they get a 3-year or 5-year fixed. Normally, that's how it used to work. So maybe over that 25 years, you had 5 mortgages of 5-year terms, right? And then in that 25 years, you would generally pay your house off. Now, house prices were a lot lower than they are today. If you bought 10 years ago, right? In 2010, your average price was 431,257. Just go to 2020, your average price was 929,623. So it's more than doubled. So people have to realize that real estate is not short term, and that's where they need to really realize that it's a longer term investment. My parents lived in their house for 39 years. They would have been better if they had moved maybe 4 times in that 39 years. Then they would have got equity and built up their portfolio, right? So, that's what a lot of people before used to do: get a job for 30 years, 40 years, retire, have the same house for that whole duration. Now, today, people 3 to 5 years, buy a house, make some equity, go get a bigger house, get more equity, and go invest it in something else. So your equity keeps building. So, yeah, are we in a little bit of a curve right now? Yeah, we're in a readjustment period where the market is trying to find out where we're going to be. Are these rates going to be always quite this high? I think they'll come down, but I definitely don't think they're going to come down to the rates that we've seen in that, like, under 1%. I think they're going to probably
Right.
get the rates down to about 5%. So now buying, selling, working a 5% basis, whatever that is, investments. So, but once people get acclimatized to that, then they can make sure they're spending the right amount of money. The houses will go to the right prices to get to that. When the market was that hot in those years, that the only way you could buy a house is probably going in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
There'd be 1, 2, 3, maybe 20 offers, maybe 30 offers. And if that was going for $1 million, it was going for 1.3 or 1.4 or 1.5 million. So a terrible position, even as a listing broker, it was a terrible position to be in, because only one person could go get it. So you have to disappoint all those other buyers and all those other salespeople that work very, very hard. So there wasn't too many winners. The winner was the seller who sold the house for good money. And then if you bought the house, you're feeling like you won the lottery, right? But it's a better situation when everybody wins.
And what's interesting in what you brought up there and throughout a lot of what you just shared around the positioning of the market itself and why we are where we are. And first, my take on it is we're not in a good market, but we're also not in a bad market right now. This market is adjusting itself. The thing that I found interesting was the numbers that you brought up and being able to track data. And this is something we talk to our coaching clients about on everything they do, from goals to scheduling to, deals, to where the deals are coming from, to the activities you're doing to get those deals. It's being able to create, a measurement scale with data that we can then leverage to look back and say, what does the data tell us? And what can it
Yes.
project as we move forward? Now
So,
to that, okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so data, as you're talking about, is so important, because now we have to find out where that plateau is going to be, right?
Right.
Is the plateau going to be here or here? Well, obviously, the way it's coming, it's going to come down a bit. But is it still a good time to buy? I don't think there's a better time to buy than right now,
Well, here's
because
a question I got for you. Okay, so here's a question. I want to keep going on this one. Would be one, what actually I'm going to wait on that one. If I said this, if we go back in time to the last time you saw markets like this, because again, being in the game for 30 plus years, one from just overall being a homeowner, 2 being involved in real estate, 3 helping as many people as you have find homes or buy, sell, whatever it be, on top of the team. The last time this happened, how did you know that the market was starting to rebound? When you went through something like this, what can we watch for as we move forward? So we're sitting here, we're watching the market, we're dealing in it, whether we're working in it or we're just wanting to buy or sell in it. What last time did you know? Like, how did you know it was starting to come back, Daryl?
here's what you have to realize. Most people are of a herd mentality.
Yeah.
right? Whether you're buying stocks, you're buying real estate, or whatever. When they were selling those coats, for winter and that, they would be lined up at the coat store, right, to buy them. So I won't name the brand because I'm not here to name brands right now.
Yeah.
But so it's a herd mentality. If one's doing it, another person's doing it. So it just happens, and obviously rates will probably have come down. They're talking December 6th is another rate hike. So
Another
hopefully,
hike. Did they say hike or just announcement?
well, this announcement.
Okay.
So hopefully they hold steady. They're not going to bring it down, but hopefully they hold steady again. So the end of the year, holding steady in the last two times, right? So it starts to give people more confidence and being able to establish. Because some people say, you know what, I want to wait till rates come down. But unfortunately, if rates come down, guess what's going to happen? Prices are going to go back up again.
Right.
It's inevitable. So when is the best time to buy is when everybody else is not doing it. One of my good friends bought a cottage for 1.8. He bought it in August and he paid a little more than asking price. Well, right now in cottage country, there's a lot of good buys out there.
Yeah.
And another, November, December, January, there's going to be more great buys. So, the only unfortunate part about that is you don't get to walk the land and see everything around. So hopefully they got videos, and maybe you can put, you don't close till later that you can have a last conditional look through or whatever. But now you can put conditions in off your offer, because before you could never, imagine you're spending $1 million or 1.5 or $2 million, and you got two young kids and a wife and a little cute little dog. So now you've got to go buy a house, and you got to go buy it with no conditions. So you've already talked to the bank.
That's
the bank
tough.
says, yeah,
That's tough.
you can get the financing. You get a pre-approval. But then the hard knocks comes. Now the market's changed a bit. Now they want to requalify again, and you may not qualify for that mortgage. So it puts you in a very precarious situation. So I hated when people had to buy a house with no home inspection, no pre-financing. Listen, as a selling agent, yeah, I like it for my clients. I love that part of it. But the same token, I don't know what's behind the walls. Like, I can walk around, I know pretty much most buildings. But, it's better to have an inspector. It's better to make sure the bank is actually going to give you that versus just the pre. You have to have a pre-approval. You should not be looking at a house without a house investment, whatever. Yeah. You have to have that pre-approval, because then it's just more the fine lines. But, the market shift, these people were qualified. So now those house prices are down substantially, and they have to qualify now for a much higher number. So in both counts, they're in trouble. I have a guy that I'm trying to finance, and I sold the next door up in Barrie, and I sold the other one in in the high 3 millions. And this guy is next door, and he wants to sell his house. So I could have probably got him in the high 3.5s, whatever, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. Now the banks, because he's got to sell, we had so many mortgage people and appraisers there, they would only give him 3.1, 3.1. So someone wants a big house at 7,700 square feet. Not everybody wants that big house, but if you do, it's on a big land, it's like a castle. They can go take advantage of that, because if the interest rates come down again, it'll be 3.6, 3.7, 3.8 for that house. So now they can go maybe buy it for $3 million. So opportunity is there. So there's opportunity to sell, opportunity to buy, and opportunity to invest. So you can't be with the herd mentality that, I'm going to go put like everybody says, okay, springtime, everybody wants to put their house on the springtime. That's old school. You used to have spring and you used to have fall. So, and then over time, it more balanced out. So spring, you'd still, more people put their house on the market, so you have more sales. But the ratio of return from listing to selling was lower than other times, because, in the wintertime, you have less competition. So it's always supply and demand. So if you have less homes on the market, then people will pay more no matter what time of year it is. You have more properties on the market, then people have more choices that they can choose from, which drives the prices down. So there's advantages and disadvantages at every time in every market. It's what is good for you as the consumer. And that's why you should talk to a real estate professional, a mortgage professional, and possibly maybe even a lawyer or an accountant to see where it is for you, because that's what's more crucial. Because no situation is going to be the same for everybody, David. It's going to be different for you and me. I'm single. You got a family, you have 2 kids, the dog and the wife. So it's a little easier for me to be just go here, go there, whatever the case might be. But
Hey, the last time you saw something like this, did you run into a situation where there was any, that whole hindsight's 2020? Did you run into anything where you came out of something and said, wow, like I didn't see it, but now I know what it is? And I'm almost leveraging this question as like the crystal ball for people on, again, you haven't accomplished what you accomplished in this market or in this game, and be able to look back at markets like this that have happened in the past and said, had I done, or now I know better for. Does that make sense?
Tony, listen, everything you do, and no matter what, remember we just talked about you taking the kids away to a tournament?
Yep.
So that made them be better for the next time they go to another tournament. Right. You have to go through, and everybody has to go through. Sometimes if life was so easy, they would just ask someone, and if they asked the right person, they'd have the right answer. But sometimes they ask the wrong people, they get the wrong answers. And so you're following the wrong person to have the right answers. So look for someone that has maybe been through there before, experienced before, and get those right questions to the right people, right? Like in real estate, they say over 90% of the agents haven't been into a market like this on NAR. NAR is National Real Estate Association. I generally go by their stats, bigger numbers, whatever the case might be. So they've only seen a good market. So anybody can sell in a good market, but in a change market, like I said, it's not a bad market. It's a normal market for what it is. It's just a more challenging that you have to strategize and really pick your position where you're going to be at, whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer or an investor. There's more opportunities to be made in this type of market than in any other type of market, right? For anybody in sales, that this is a time that you can make a career, break a career, or be a superstar.
And this is something I continue to say, because I looked at for the whole time that the rates were low, the prices kept climbing, there was no conditions in the offers, things were selling like, over asking, multiple offer situations everywhere. I kept asking the question to everybody, and I know I asked it to you at some point, where's all the money coming from? And nobody really has, like, there's a lot of different answers, but nobody really has a straight answer for where the money's coming from. And now you look at people going, a lot of these people are going to be up for renewal in the next 3 to 5 years, next year, possibly the next 3 to 5 years. And I look at those people going, there's going to be a lot of those people, unfortunately, that are just not going to be able to survive whatever that renewal is, because the rates are higher, which again says to me, to everybody in this industry, there is a ton of opportunity coming our way. Like, there's a lot of good coming.
One of the numbers I got was 3.5 million have their mortgages coming up next year, right? So, but even in 2023, like I just renewed one of my mortgages. It was under 2%, and now I got it because of VIP, whatever, and early renewal, they gave me 6.01 or something. But what I have to pay monthly now is dramatically more.
Right.
And I'm no different than anybody else, or you're no different, because most people have mortgages, whether you have an investment properties or whatever you have. Most people have mortgages. I mean, there's some people that have no mortgage, so it doesn't affect them because they got cash and they can really take advantage of this market. If you just got cash, boom, you can take so much advantage. So, but for most average people, they have mortgage to deal with. So I've been trying to get some of my mortgage people to help people refinance their homes, because either the banks were going to take them over, and sometimes even so where they got the money, a lot of times they got the money from the banks, because the banks were very lenient on handing out money. David, how much money you want? Boom.
Yep.
You
Yep.
want some more? Here, we're going to give you some more. You're a good client. Here, we're going to give you a little more. So they were just freely, that's why now the Bank of Canada has tightened up the reins. That's why you got to qualify for 2 points more than the mortgage, because the banks have to be secure on the money they're going to hand out. So now you're seeing some powers of sales and stuff like that, right? Where before, very rare to see that. But now you're starting to see more of it. So now you have to be more creative to get, like I just seen someone offered 3% to the buyer broker. So what does that mean? If you're an agent, normally they get 2.5%. And so now they're offering 3% to the buyer broker. The builders are offering the agents a higher percentage to help sell their places, and they're offering perks to the buyers. Maybe you get discounted parking, or you get so much money towards upgrades, all sorts of different things. So back in the day when things were bad, I used to give a 1-year membership to agents because they had less time, so they better go work out. So if they had a 1-year membership, we'd raise the commission rates up. Instead of just reducing the price, there might be other ideas that you may have that you can get your house stand up higher in the ladder. Because if you're down with like I seen one house, one street, there's 5 houses on the market, and they were all priced roughly the same price. But if you look at the sold was 200,000 less than all of them. So don't go by what's listed. You got to go by what's sold. And you can't go by what's sold in January, February, March, or April, or May, because that's different from today. You can only go back 30 days. That's the max you can go by.
Well, there's one right now. I think we're having a lot of conversations with agents, and I know I'm having a lot of conversations with clients of mine right now when it comes to what that list price is and the fact that the listing is sitting around longer. You and I had this conversation in at the office a few weeks ago, in the front, if we remember, talk, what are our options? So what would you say? And I'll instead of I kind of bringing up what was said, I'm going to ask you the question just as the advice here. You've got agents that are listening to this right now that have listings, and it's a great thing to have the listings. And we know back during 2020 to 22, it was have a listing. It's a gold mine. Today, it's a very different thing. That listing's sitting, and we're seeing a lot of listings being terminated because we've got sellers that maybe are expecting way too much money. So now here we've got a listing agent who doesn't want to terminate the listing, doesn't want to look bad in front of people. It's sitting around longer than they'd like it to, which I still don't think we're in an abnormal days on market by any means. However, now people are going, well, what do I do? What would you recommend to anybody who's got a listing sitting around right now that is sitting longer than they would like? They can't move it. Maybe it's getting a little bit of traction or getting no traction. What should they be doing right now?
Number one for everybody, buyers, sellers, investors, agents, and brokers, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. Everybody wants something now. Now, housing is the largest investment for 90% of everybody, right? And back in the time, they didn't sell in 3, 4, 5 days with multiple offers. It would take 30 to 45 days. An average was 45 days to sell with a 3-month closing. From start finish, you'd be looking roughly 3 to 5 months. So we're going to go back to that houses are going to take longer to sell. It's just not going to sell in one day.
Yep.
There is some that are going to be, they're an exceptional house, they're exceptional location, they're exceptional price, and someone's just going to show up and say, yeah, I want that house. But the longer period of time, days on market is good. You'll start to watch will start to lengthen as we keep going through this type of market. Days on market will be one thing that will be a longer.
What's a normal days on market in like we're talking, Daryl, we're going 30 years of real estate in your world, 30 plus. What's a normal days on market? Just that range.
Well, basically, and it depends on the price range.
Yep.
30 to 45 days was very average.
Okay.
Right? So, we're going to go back to those times that you're going to go into 30 and 45 days. So you can't just like someone had their house in 30 days and they're like freaking out at the agents. And I'm going, why are you freaking out the agents? You've had a number of showings, you had offers on the property, but what you're looking for and what the market is willing to give you are two different things. So the sellers have to realize that, they can't go and look at January, February, March, or of last year's prices and say, hey, I want this much money for my house. That doesn't exist.
Right.
That's past. So they have to become more realistic. So number one is sellers, if they want to sell their house today, have to become more realistic. Because listen, agents are not supermen. They can go do a lot for you. Get a good agent because they're going to make a big difference. But they can't say if your house is worth 1 million, they're not going to go get you 2 million. It's just not going to happen, right? So you have to make sure that, listen, I priced something very, very well. We were the best price in Vaughan and for that particular thing. And then shortly thereafter, a bunch of other people were coming up and being priced $150,000 less. Guess which ones sold already? The ones that were $150,000 less. So that is the new benchmark for those units. It's the selling price because there was one that sold at 900, another one 939, another one for 949. Before it was a 1.150. That doesn't exist anymore. That's past history. The market has already showed us. So these are recent sales. You got 4 recent sales telling you this is the market. The other 2 or 3 sales are older sales. The older sales do not exist today. So the price of real estate is changed from 1 year ago to today, right? And, sometimes when the Toronto real estate reports their average was going to come out in another 3 days or 4 days, they might say the average price only came down this much. But what happens is, and I would say September as an example, that it came down more than it actually said it did because they said it was down 7.1% in sales, but in price it was only down 3 point something. And I would have said it's more than that because what happens is some bigger homes sold for higher prices that took the averages up more. So you look at the averages in price ranges. That's the best way to get your average. So if you want to be more accurate, look at $1 million. Look at 1.2. Look at 1.5. Look at 2 million. Look at 3 million. Look at 4 million. Look at those averages and see. And then different locations. If I'm downtown Toronto, that's going to always stay higher than somewhere up in Barrie or out in Oshawa or, Milton or something like that, right? Because you have more buyers no matter what. So it will change things of that aspect. So you got to, smaller the area and more on price of where that price you're in that you would fit in.
So if we look at action steps on that and say we can obviously review some comparables to really see what's going on and do that for more recent sales.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to pause there for a second and say, do you feel that agents are dictating the market just because they want to get a listing sold, or do you think that the market is dictating the market?
The agents are not. They can't dictate it. When the market was really hot, maybe they had a little more, but no. Today, the market is going to 100%, and that's the way it always should be. No realtor is bigger than the market. No broker is bigger than the market. The market is the market. So it's well beyond any of us. The market is what the banks, listen, if the interest rates were 2% versus 6 and 7%, where do you think prices would be right now?
Of course, they'd be higher.
And where do you think multiple offers would be?
They'd be higher as well.
Right. So I want to go look at a house. Unless I went and looked at it yesterday, it might be gone today. Right?
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity. You have to look at this time right now as one of the greatest times in real estate because now you could look at things. And listen, I would sooner a family, they got 2 kids, 3 kids, 1 kid, whatever it is. They look at it and they have a conversation instead of they have to make a decision within 20 minutes or they've lost it, right? So it's a much more balanced market when you put it that way. And that's what we have to realize instead of doom and gloom, it's not doom and gloom. There, last month there was still 4,600 sales. And I imagine, this month is going to be similar to the same. So, and as things get readjusted, those numbers will creep up even a little higher. But, you're now into your fall market. We'll go into our winter market. So let's look at the history of those months. How many sales was there back before things were too crazy? Remember history, right?
Yep. The data again, there it comes right back to that.
Right. Listen, there's nothing more sound than look at, you bought in 2010 for 431. I don't care where the market is. You've doubled your money.
Yeah, that's the other thing people need to take into consideration. You have doubled your money.
And if it's your principal residence, there's no capital gains. So there's no other place that I want to invest in than still real estate. I invest in stocks. I have a portfolio and other things, but some of those things burnt and crashed, right? Some made money, but no matter what, if you take real estate and treat it as a 10-year venue, say, you're always going to win.
This is why with our coaching program, we talk about the 10-year plan.
Yes.
It's that 10-year plan, that process that just keeps you there. It's got a machine that's pumping, and it will continue to drive business. As we said, it's a long-term investment. So then let me ask this. Switching the kind of the maybe the direction in terms of, who we're maybe talking to instead of the bigger mass, let's go right down to the people working in the industry right now and say, what's it going to take for people to survive right now? What would you be telling people?
Are you talking about real estate agents?
I'm talking about the agents specifically, right? I'm talking about the agents specifically. Because
number one is wholeheartedly, they need to work. You've got to work. Like all these people buying these magic pills, listen, this phone is, can't see it too well. Anyway, I'm throwing it up there, but this has been our biggest asset, right? But again, it could be our biggest problem because we spend too much time wasting time on our social whatever that's not really doing anything, right? So no matter what, they've got to work probably harder right now because in the good market, they didn't have to work too hard and anybody could sell something. But right now, you should have a plan, right? Yep. And I know you talk about that, having a plan. So they should have a plan. What am I going to do tomorrow? Well, I'm going to wake up at 10 o'clock and then I might go to the office at 11 o'clock and I'm going to check my emails and whatever. And then I'm going to have my lunch and then I'm going to talk to a few people in the office, make a few more calls. And then I got to go home for 5 o'clock for dinner. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. You need to put in, if you go to a job, you work 40 hours. You need to be working at least 40 hours. I don't care. Maybe more, but at least 40 hours, full time. Part-time doesn't cut it, right? Have a good coach. Look, I'm looking at you. Are you a good coach? I'd say you don't got a coach. Go call Dave. Go sign up to his programs because what he teaches is realistic. There's some people that just want to tell you what you want to hear that you can spend money. They're the people you don't want to follow because you're not going to get anything back. Spend more money, and then you're in more dire situations, right? So, I always say you have to have a good coach. And, I've always had coaches pretty much, when I started the first 10 years, pretty much I had no coach. I listened to Zig Ziglar, Tommy Hopkins, a legend. Floyd Wickman. But, then I got Mike Berry stepped into my life and he became my coach and my mentor for many, many years. And I had a lot of other coaches and trainers. Because if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. And most of us, like you go to real estate school, then you come into the world. It's like, what do I do next? They don't know where to go, right? So
here's something though. When you talk about coaching right now, and I appreciate the accolades there. There's a lot of people right now as we go market slower. The funds aren't flowing as nicely. There's people that are concerned around the actual cost and the expense of a coach rather than looking at the ROI to try to keep us on track, build a foundation, create systems and processes, and drive us forward by holding us accountable. to the
Okay.
actual process.
So that's a good thought, and it's a good question, right? So,
Because it costs money.
listen, there's nothing in life that is really free. Like you see something that says free, but if you look in the back page of that, there's normally something that comes with it,
Right.
right? So somewhere, David, he started this business with kids and now with the coaching and stuff many years ago. So he's continually delving into it. And not some of the other great coaches, I won't mention their names, but they're good friends and I love them all.
For sure.
They're not gonna give you stuff that is no good. They're gonna give you stuff that is gonna help you succeed in your business. And it's your short-sightedness. Again, it's short-sightedness, David, that they don't want to get a coach. Listen, they used to say spend 5% of what you made. I probably always spent at least 10% of what I made on training and coaching throughout my whole career, right? If you think of $6 billion, that's a lot of money. But you think of the money that came back in, it's a lot of money, right?
It's a lot more money, is it not?
Well, yeah. So what I got there, I would have been very successful, and I was very successful when I first got into it, I was very successful. But I was just one of those people that was so driven. I didn't really maybe need a mentor or coach, and I did a lot of figuring. My mind would always race. But what I know today, I could probably forget more than most people would know, and still know more than them, right? And it's that's not talking from ego. It's just talking from having
experience. It's been there, done that. I get where the comments come from.
They talk about those 10,000 hours, right? You become a master. Yep. Well, give me 80,000 hours, at least, right? So 8 times being a master. So that's the key. Is you need to start mastering and knowing things. And some people just come in and they just think they're going to be the rocket star, right? I'm going to do a video, or I'm going to do this and do that, whatever, and I'm going to take off. It's probably there might be some odd people. I was an odd person, right? So I took off. You may be the odd person when you're doing your business. I mean, look at sports figures. There's ones that excel over everybody else, but mostly everybody needs coaches, mentors, trainers. You look at athletes. How many coaches do they have? How many trainers do they have? Right? Airline pilots. I mean, any wake of life. You go to be a dentist. How much schooling you got to do? Go be a lawyer. How much schooling you got to do? They all have to take lessons to become who they are. And the fact that you're not willing to spend any money on yourself, how do you expect to improve yourself? Right? You're not. So that's why the masses are not doing that great in like, if you look at the averages in any sales, not just real estate.
Yep.
It's not great because they're not willing to invest in themselves. If you can't invest in yourself, if you're going drinking, well, I can't afford it. Well, then don't go drinking for that month. Go invest in some coaching that you can go help some clients, because if you help some clients, then you get help. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the clients. That's the most vocal point. So when you start thinking about me, I tell my agents, if you think that way, we got to have a big, deep conversation. It's never about us. It's about, listen, I just took a listing that was listed with another agent, and it's a condo right across the street. So they ended up giving me the listing. They couldn't sell it. So we went there, and I said to them right there, and I said, the paint, they just spent $100,000 in renovations, but they painted it red and blue. And I said, you know what? That's not going to really appeal to too many people. So what are the comments from people that go see it? The red and the blue. So I have my office being painted right now. So they agreed that they'll paint it. I sent my painter. So I put the backlog in mine. It's going to be backlogged now 7 or 8 days. So I sent him over there yesterday. He's already painted it. So when we're done here, we're going to go and do no photographs on it. And then I'll tell everybody that hopefully we sold it in the week. Right? Because instead of a big, right in his back wall, seeing a big red wall and then seeing a big blue wall. Hey, if you want to live in the house, it's fantastic. Because listen, I have blue on today. But if you don't like blue, you're turned off by it. David's got black on, right? So if you don't like those two colors and it's on a permanent wall or something like that, you're going to be more turned off on it. But if it's all nice and neutral, hey, now I can see myself being there. So I will almost wager that within the week, this condo will be sold.
I remember that little story you just shared takes me back to a property that I viewed with you a number of years ago. And I remember walking in there and you were painting a picture as we walked in.
The house in the court with the ravine.
Yeah, that exact one. But you were painting a picture of this and this room. But here's what I would do here. And we could see it come to life. And you could start to envision some of the changes, some of the adjustments, some of the differences that you might see to some of the things that you don't necessarily like right then and there.
If
And
I took you to that house today,
yeah,
you wouldn't even recognize. So that was in a very hot area, but they're the original owners. They had done the bathrooms, and I made them do another bathroom, tear out the old tub and put a nice shower and quartz. But then there were still some other things that were a little back, whatever.
yeah.
So now they went that extra step, and it's just like, oh my God, because beautiful walkout basement backing onto the conservation here in South Richmond Hill. Like, wow. Right.
So let me ask you this. We talk about the things we need to do in a day and the things we need to do to survive out there in this market. We've talked about the market and we've talked about, expectations around, pricing and how to adjust things and what happens if you're not getting showings. When we talk about productivity, one thing that I thought was really unique that you shared a moment ago was, and again, because there's a lot of people that are walking in the industry like this, where they'll come in, I know what I got to do. I'm really, really good. And they go out and there's some that will have some success. And it seems like you almost walked in a very similar fashion going, I got this. And I know just from learning from you and speaking with you over the years, the things that you do in a day are what brought you success. Remember when you told the story about the 2 jars with the coins that you put in, one would have to fill and empty. And I thought these are the little things that a lot of us can have, or no, very few of us can have come to us, innately, like where it's within us to just kind of go, I know I got to do. You hit a level of success, and then you talked about not having a coach, but then you went and got coaching. And so that's just a little, plug to that to say to everybody, at some point, you may not think you need it, but even the best of the best, as Daryl's telling us right now, go and seek it out. So then the next question I got for you here, Daryl, would be, in the normal course of a day, what does a normal day in the life look like for Daryl King, who is doing the amount of volume that you do in real estate, having the team that you've got? What are some of those routines that you've got that other people can emulate by just listening to us right now and learning from you right now to achieve continuous success?
Well, if we're talking about tomorrow, I've already started planning tomorrow already.
Of course.
Right. So, we've got 35 team members going up to one of the new pre-construction in Aurelia, right on the water. So that conversation's been happening for 3 weeks.
Right.
So, we had 20. Now we're at over 35 team members going. They're going to have a nice lunch. They're going to tour us around the facility and stuff like that and show us. So start planning well in advance. Planning, strategize, right? So there isn't a day that at nighttime I'm not preparing my day for the next day. So already most of my day is made up. So when someone says they want to get an appointment, well, chances are that day is already filled.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, boom, we got a little bit here. Okay, we're going to get you into here, right? You have to always leave a little playway. But probably 85% of my day is already planned out the day before. So then what are my top 10 things that I need to accomplish today? And go number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So even if you accomplish 7%, which is 70% of that 10 things that you had, man, you're 70% better than you were yesterday. So I don't compete against anybody. Listen, when I was younger, I want to compete against the world.
Yeah.
That was like, bring it on. Let's go do it. That's your ego. Young and adrenaline flowing. As business maturity, as I learned to mature and get coached, it has nothing to do with anybody else. I just want to be a better person every single day than I was yesterday. Would I make mistakes? Of course I make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Recognize your mistakes. and get over them. And if you did something wrong, somebody just apologize to them, right? You know, I said with my marketing department, you know, we did something yesterday and they did something. And what they did I thought was great, but I just thought the timing was incorrect. So, and I explained that. I know their feelings were hurt a little bit, but I'm not trying to hurt their feelings. I'm just trying to do this. And as a leader, it's tough decisions sometimes that you got to make that decision. So if you're going to be the leader, and if you're working individual, you are that leader. So you are going to make some tough decisions. You have to make that decision. There's no way of not making that decision. If you just want to wait and maybe it's going to pass or it's not going to pass, that whatever that is, it's still going to be lingering. But if it was lingering here and you just let it wait, it's going to build up.
Right.
So you have to get over. Go handle the toughest things first. And then everything becomes very easy after that. You know, eat the frog, as they say. That's a book, right? Go eat the frog first. Once you get done with that, the rest of the day is easy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I said that yesterday about even like when it's time to make your phone calls and you're procrastinating to make that phone call, or it's time to record that video or do that post and you're procrastinating. Just do the first one.
yes.
The second won't be that much easier.
Right.
Right. So,
So even in team meetings, some people don't want to do a video. They want to talk in front of everybody. I said, if I can get you to talk with in front of the team or do a video in front of the team, go into one client that doesn't know what you're going to say or do. Right. It's like a piece of butter. It's easy. Right.
So what are some non-negotiables then for your day? Like, what are some of the things that have to happen every single day? And what I'm going to do is not go from the team leader, perspective, but like
just
I'm running my,
yeah. So it's real easy. Number one is avoid negativity at all cost.
Love that.
Avoid negativity at all cost, because anyone is so negative. Do you ever think you're ever going to win an argument with them? You could show them in black and white. You could lay out all the facts and figures. They're still going to be negative. You're never going to win. Just, you're right. And that's it. You're right. Walk away. So I remember being coached and mentored, and and Mike, it was funny. If someone was negative, you could see if he's walking this way and you can see they're negative, he would just make a beeline. He's not going to deal with listening to wow, 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 wow. Guys, and I don't know what it is. Society, is just, I look at these wars and stuff, and I don't want to get into politics, but I love peace. Everybody should just love. We're all the same. I don't care what nationality you are, male, female, young, old, tall, thin, whatever. We are all exactly the same. So treat everybody equally. Don't favor anybody. Treat everybody the same. Treat people with respect. Treat people with humility, with empathy, with a great attitude. If the server is great, look at, I told the manager, this server is great. Give them a little extra tip. They work hard. They're not making, if you go to restaurants today, a lot of them, unless they're super great, they're down probably 30%. Same as hotels and everything else. So always respect everybody. Tell the truth. The truth hurts. The truth hurts a lot. So a lot of people want to hear the truth. But guess what? You don't want to hear even more so, a lie. Right? So if you tell someone a lie, they'll never come back to that. So listen, you may have to tell them the truth about something. They're not going to like it. But if you tell them a lie and then they find out you're lying, you're done. So tell the truth, even though how painful it is. So, I wake up every day and I have gratitude, empathy, because I know there's a lot of people that are not as fortunate as I am. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people that are way better than I am. So it doesn't matter where you're in the pecking order, but I just want to be better than who I was. So when my birthday comes, it's not happy birthday. I always think I'm another year wiser. I have that much more knowledge. I've gone through this many more experiences that I can help people through a lot of different situations, because I probably have a story or 10 or 100 or 1,000 stories that I can relate to where you are in this position right now.
Right.
Right.
So we talk about positivity. We talk about respect. We talk about telling the truth.
Have empathy too.
Have empathy, and then I think a big one there was compete against you, not anybody else. Try to make yourself that much better.
Yes.
So then if we say, okay, so this is the mindset part of things, and this is what people need to be thinking and acting as every day. If I said to you from a non-negotiable, and I sort of go like forward slash, favorite marketing tactics that actually work. And maybe that's a rapid fire, because I also want to say what doesn't work. So as a rapid fire, what would you say from a marketing tactic that does work, or a few that have consistently worked for you that everybody should just be doing on a daily?
A marketing?
Yeah. Get you out there, building MindShare, getting themselves out there, growing their business. What would you say that just people need to be doing each day? Like if I said, should I be sitting around just waiting for the phone to ring? I know you're going to say obviously not, but what should I be doing to make that ring or to meet new people?
As long as
What
it's
are
not
some of those things
ringing
that I
now.
should just do daily?
Right. So, yeah, is your phone going to ring? Well, your wife's probably going to tell you to pick up the milk and the bread and pick up the kids and stuff like that. But as a client, like if they don't know who you are, how are they going to call you, right? You can't be a hidden agent, right? So, you may not have a budget to go advertise, but you can do your own little social media, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your TikToks, or, Facebook, whatever, and do a little bit of social, whether it be, a little bit of video or a little bit of what you have to offer, whatever. But you can't be a hidden agent and just think something's going to happen. But my belief is go an active agent and go talk to people.
Talk
Where
to
can
people.
I where can I go meet people? Go network. Go to events. Right. If you go to events, you're going to network with other fellow realtors. Maybe they got someone coming to your area. You got someone going to their area. Um, or you maybe come up against them on a negotiation things. You already know them. It's a lot easier to negotiate with people you already know and like than someone that you don't know and like, right? So there's many things that I would do, like get up out 1 hour earlier every single day, right? Doesn't cost you any money. So how do I do that? Maybe you might have to go to bed 1 hour earlier if you need that extra sleep, right? Or stop wasting your time when you get up or go to bed, whatever, right? Lead something. You need to put something inspiring into your mind every single day, because if you go to bed listening to the news and all that stuff out there, oh my God, I go crazy. I go bonkers, right? It's not a happy place.
Would you
And
say that warm calling your contact list is still right up there with the top thing you could be doing to grow your business?
1,000%,
Okay.
1,000%.
And what would you say is maybe if we said the 1000% to that, what would be the complete opposite to that from marketing that people are probably spending too much time doing, but is probably not generating a lot? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, what they're not doing is not working. They're
Okay.
just
All right.
they're
Fair.
they're they're feeling sorry for themselves. They're staying at home. They're probably maybe eating too much. I like to eat, whether I'm happy, sad, depressed, whatever. That's my unfortunate part. I got a sweet tooth, right? Halloween, man, I bought boxes and boxes of chocolates. So
You
we
didn't
had
even
them
give them out, eh?
here at the office. And then last night I had to go shell out to the kids, and we only had 70. Normally I would get more than that. So I'm waiting to show up, and so I'm nibbling on these chocolate bars. I'm going, no, right? So stay
So
away
don't
from
sit
that,
around and do nothing. Get out there and
right?
talk to
No,
people.
you've listen. The worst thing you can do, listen. I know someone that's very depressed right now. They lost their mother. It was 1 year anniversary yesterday, and with their grandmother. So unfortunately, they're getting in a spiral mode that they're very depressed. The market's changed a bit, so they're just in a depressed mode. So if you get in, listen, I did an example when I was speaking out in Ajax, the Rob Vivian thing. You may have seen it. I'll get them to show it again. But I got on the floor, laid down. So if you get so far down, it's a lot harder to get back up again, right? It exerts so much more energy. If you're already standing and you got to get up, it's a lot easier to get up than laying on the ground, being flat on your belly, and then try and get up. You need help, whatever. So where can you go find help today to help you get out of that spiraling mode, right? So being with the team, hopefully the team can help them get out of that, right? Like I call these people up myself, and so hopefully they're going to come tomorrow to the event because they live up north. They were supposed to come to a couple other events and they were still in mourning, whatever. You can't listen. It's good to mourn. Listen, anyone loses anybody, you're going to mourn and God bless them. but you can't listen. So number one is you have to look after yourself. Number one,
Yeah.
if you don't look after yourself, number one, you cannot look after anybody. So it's not being greedy or not being selfish. It's important. So if you got sick, David, who's going to look after your wife? Who's going to look after the kids and the little dog? Who's going to pay with your staff, right? So you got a long list of people that you need to be with your mindset. You need to be strong. You need to be healthy. So, I see you go to the gym every day and you commit. You're a family man. You're out there with the kids and stuff. So you have to do these things no matter what. And if you do that, you're stronger because of it. So take care of one's first, number one. Get
Okay.
your
Okay.
mindset, get your health, eat properly, try and get some sleep, get up earlier, start your day earlier, right?
So if I said to you then, and this might be redundant then if I said this, but how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
It's real easy. If I can go, and I know this, I give 110% every single day, not 100%. From the morning I get up to the time I go to bed, I'm whacked. I'm like, and I know there's days that I've been frustrated. Trust me. I just some days it's just like it's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I know that no matter what, I gave it my best. And as long as I gave it my best, I'm going to make it through. So it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, because you are going to get knocked down. I don't care who you are, what you are. The society is going to smash you down. And it's the quicker you can get up, the quicker you can recover. Because look at, when my father passed away, my father was, my best friend, and he was my mentor, my coach. So it was very devastating to me. Now, the good thing is, when I come back, I was doing my TV show. So instead of just calling the TV show up, said, no, I need a couple weeks to mourn, I'll be right there. And I went right back into working. Because, listen, so that's a number of years ago. There isn't a day that I don't think of my late father or my uncles or certain people that I love, right? When I love somebody, I'm going to love them eternally till I go somewhere else. So that doesn't change. But you're not helping yourself by putting yourself in a depressed mode. You're losing 100 pounds, not because you want to lose 100 pounds, just because you're not eating. Or you're putting 100 pounds on because you can't stop eating because you're depressed, whatever that is. So you're not helping yourself. So that's why I always look and see who needs my help every single day. My father taught me that from a very young age, royal treatment, treat others like family. And right now, stomp the stigma. Look at what Matthew Perry, I grew up watching Matthew Perry, Friends, and I still, if it was on, I watch it still. The guy dedicated his life to be a good comedian, and he would be depressed. He talked about alcohol and drugs because, and Robin Williams, same way, all the money in the world and all the love, but they strive to be so great at what they did. And if he couldn't make people laugh, he would get depressed and down. So everybody needs your help somewhere. So always be kind, always be considerate. And I always said, listen, if I walked on the ocean and you walked on a beach and I put my foot on that ocean and I lifted my foot up and I left the imprint there, always leave it for the better. That people will be better feeling after you've left and they can remember that and thank you for that, right? So if you can just change one person's life or help one person every single day, you did something right. So, yeah, it's real easy for me. I don't have to think too hard because I know I'm going to give 110% every single day. And, I don't tell other people in this office to do this and this. I go do it myself.
Right.
They'll see me washing the cupboards. They'll go see me mopping the floors. They'll see me moving chairs. They'll see me moving tables, putting out the signs outside. I do all that. I ask for help sometimes, but a lot of times I just do it by myself, right? So don't do what you won't do, right? Yes, you should delegate 200%. You should delegate. Delegation is the key to success, as you know, right? But don't be afraid to lead by being a great leader. So if you're going to be a leader and be a good one.
I love the way you answered that question. And again, for everybody tuned in, you heard it once again, right? When we talk about a successful day, we talk about helping other people. And Daryl, I think you said that wonderfully and obviously expanded on that. And, all in all, for everything that we discussed today, when we really took today's title and said, how do we survive in real estate right now? And I knew you'd be the absolute perfect individual to come in and talk about that because you got the experience. You have seen the tougher markets. You have seen the amazing markets. You've succeeded in all markets. And we can see from listening to you today exactly why. So I want to say thank you, a big thank you for making the time once again to join me on the MindShare podcast today. Daryl King.
Always a pleasure. And to everybody, no matter how many times you get knocked down, just get back up. Because listen, you go to bed every night, you get out of bed. So just if you get knocked down in business or in personal, whatever, just get up and come with more fortitude than ever, right? Because you can change your life pretty quickly as much as you go in a spiral pretty quickly. But it's got to come from you. David can't do it. I can't do it. It's got to come from your heart. So it's up to you to make that choice. You have two choices every day. Every morning you wake up. So what's that choice going to be, right? The first choice is we don't have much or nothing's going on, or we have everything and every opportunity. I'm telling everybody right now, there's more opportunity for everybody than ever before. So go grab that opportunity and make something happen for you and your family. God bless. David, thanks for having me here. Always a pleasure. You can always reach me at my location. You can call us 905-907-5464. Our home's at Daryl King. We're happy to talk to anybody. So
the king of real estate, Mr. Daryl King. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time today.
Take care, David.
Bye-bye. You're either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. By the way, while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle, our 31-page ebook, including your free 90-day social media content calendar to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote talk for your upcoming event, and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with myself, get in touch with our team. We'll set up a consultation call. We'll learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we are going to help you do exactly that. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us. Do it today. Also, don't forget to leave a review of this podcast. You very easily just go over to www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. If you're on Apple, it'll take you to iTunes. If you're on Android, it'll take you to Spotify. We're making it super easy for you, or you can go directly to iTunes or Spotify. But we'd be super grateful. Big 5 stars, nice little reviews. Seriously, love those. And of course, if we haven't yet, let's connect on Facebook at MindShare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to take a quick moment here to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems and REM Magazine for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare podcast. Be sure to visit our site to learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.